She knew confidential project codes. Coincidence, or was she hiding everything on purpose?
She's a burden, my sister said, smiling just as her fiancé turned to me and went completely still. Then he asked quietly, "What do you do?" We were at her engagement dinner, everyone watching, wine glasses mid-air, waiting for me to laugh it off like I always did. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Rachel didn't wait. She leaned in, voice light but sharp. Nothing consistent. She's still figuring life out. You know how she is. A few people chuckled. No one corrected her. They never did. I opened my mouth, but she cut in again, like she needed to finish the story for me. Then Daniel interrupted her. Not loudly, just enough to stop everything. His eyes stayed on me. Which company? I answered with one word, and his face drained. Daniel didn't blink, not once. His hand, still wrapped around his glass, tightened just slightly enough for the faint clink of crystal to cut through the silence Rachel had just created. Rachel let out a soft laugh, the kind she used when she wanted to smooth something over without actually correcting it. "Okay, relax," she said, nudging his arm. "She's being dramatic. It's not—" "What did you say?" Daniel asked again, this time not even looking at her. Every eye at the table shifted. My parents, Rachel's friends, even the waiter, halfway through pouring wine, paused like he wasn't sure if he should keep going. I felt it then, that familiar pressure, the expectation. Smile, shrug it off, let Rachel define the moment. But Daniel was still watching me. Not casually, not politely, like he was trying to play something that didn't make sense. Rachel's posture changed. Subtle, but I saw it. Her shoulders tightened, her smile holding just a second too long. "You're overthinking it," she said. "Quicker now." She just means she helps out sometimes. Right, Elena? I didn't answer. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't need to. Daniel slowly set his glass down. Then he reached into his jacket, pulling out his phone, his expression no longer confused. It was certain, and when he looked back up at me, his voice dropped just enough that everyone leaned in to hear it. "Say it again," he said. "Say it again," he said. The air shifted. Not dramatically, no one gasped, no one spoke, but something tightened around the table, like a thread pulled too far. Rachel let out another laugh, sharper this time. "Daniel, seriously, you're making this weird," she said, reaching for his arm again. "It's not that deep." He didn't move. I could feel everyone waiting for me to fix it. That unspoken role I'd been handed years ago, absorb it, soften it, make it comfortable again. Instead, I met his eyes. I said I own it. No hesitation, no smile. Rachel's chair scraped slightly against the floor as she shifted. "Oh my God," she muttered, shaking her head like I'd just embarrassed her. "She does this. She says things that sound impressive, but—" "Elena," Daniel cut in, still calm, still focused. "What sector?" Rachel exhaled loudly, like she was already tired of this. "Logistics," she answered for me again, waving her hand. "Very entry-level stuff. She's not—" "Supply chain infrastructure," I said, speaking over her for the first time. That did it. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it landed. Daniel's expression didn't change, but his attention sharpened. "You specialize in regional distribution?" he asked. I nodded once. "Among other things." Rachel stared at me now, not smiling anymore. There was something else there. Irritation, yes, but also something tighter, controlled. "You've never even mentioned a company name," she said. "Not once." "That's because you've never asked," I replied. A beat. That silence again, but different this time. Heavier. Daniel leaned back slightly, studying me like he was rerunning every assumption he'd made in the last hour. "My firm's been restructuring its logistics partners," he said slowly. We brought in a new group about 8 months ago. Quiet entry, no press. I didn't respond. Rachel scoffed. Okay, now you're just connecting random things. They don't do press, Daniel continued, ignoring her completely now. No interviews, no public CEO, his gaze locked on mine. But they make decisions fast. I tilted my head slightly. Efficiency matters. His jaw tightened. Rachel looked between us, something in her expression starting to crack. Can someone explain what's happening right now? She said, half laughing again, but it didn't land this time. Daniel didn't answer her. He only asked me one thing. Have we worked with you? I held his gaze for a second longer than necessary. Then I said quietly, You already are. You already are. The words didn't echo, but they might as well have. Daniel went completely still again, but this time it wasn't confusion. It was recognition. Rachel let out a disbelieving laugh, louder than before. Okay, no. No, that's not funny, she said, shaking her head like she could physically dismiss what I'd just said. Daniel, come on. You know the firms you work with. This is... What's the project code? He asked suddenly. She stopped. The shift was immediate. No warning, no transition. He wasn't talking to her anymore. I didn't answer right away. I could feel the attention pulling tighter around the table again, people leaning in without realizing it. Even the ones who didn't understand what was happening could feel it turning. Rachel's voice cut in, sharper now. Why are you even entertaining this? She snapped. She doesn't. Rachel. His tone wasn't loud, but it landed hard enough that she actually went quiet. That had never happened before. Not here. Not in front of people. He didn't take his eyes off me. The new infrastructure rollout, he continued. Midwest expansion. What's the internal reference? There it was. Specific, precise, not something you guessed. I rested my fingers lightly against the edge of the table, then said it. The exact code? No hesitation, no correction. Daniel inhaled, sharp, controlled, but it still broke his composure. Across from me, Rachel's expression faltered. Just for a second, but it was enough. That doesn't mean anything, she said quickly, too quickly. You can find that stuff online if you... It's not public, Daniel said. He finally looked at her, and whatever she saw in his face made her stop talking. The table had gone completely silent now. No movement, no background noise, just that heavy, tightening pressure of something about to snap. Daniel leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. How do you know that code? Rachel shook her head, almost laughing again, but there was nothing behind it now. She's messing with you. Elena does this. She picks things up and pretends. I don't pretend, I said. That landed harder than anything else I'd said so far. Daniel's eyes flicked back to mine. Then what's your position? He asked. There it was. The question Rachel had spent years making sure no one ever asked seriously. I held his gaze. And this time, I didn't pause. Owner. Owner. No one moved. It wasn't disbelief anymore that would have been louder. This was something heavier, quieter, like everyone was waiting for someone else to break it. Rachel tried a short, sharp laugh. Okay, that's no. That's actually insane, she said, pushing her chair back slightly. You don't just own companies like that, Elena. That's not how... Daniel stood up. The sudden movement cut straight through her words. His chair scraped loudly against the floor, drawing every eye in the room, even from nearby tables now. But he didn't seem to notice any of it. He was already pulling his phone out again. Daniel, Rachel said, her voice tightening, you're seriously not buying this, right? She's... Hold on. 2 words. Flat, final. She stopped. He turned slightly away from the table, his thumb moving quickly across the screen, scrolling, opening something internal, something locked down. I recognized the interface immediately. Of course I did. Rachel watched him now, her confidence unraveling in real time. Her arms crossed, then uncrossed, her foot tapping once against the floor before she forced it still. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, but quieter now. "You're acting like she just what? Walked into your company and—" Daniel froze. Not gradually, not subtly. His entire body stilled mid-motion, like whatever he was looking at had just removed every other thought from his mind. Slowly, he lowered the phone. Then he turned back to me. Different, completely different. The calculation was gone. So was the skepticism. What replaced it was something Rachel had never seen directed at me before. Recognition. "You're listed under a holding entity," he said. Voice low, controlled but not steady. No public name, just a primary authorization signature. Rachel shook her head immediately. "That doesn't prove anything. Lots of companies—" He didn't even glance at her. "What's the parent company called?" he asked me. The room felt smaller now, tighter. I could feel every single person at that table leaning into the answer before I even gave it. Rachel's voice cut in, strained now. "Elena, stop. This isn't funny anymore." I said, "The name? Clean. Precise. No room for interpretation." Daniel's grip on his phone slipped just slightly. Not enough to drop it, but enough for everyone to see. The color drained from his face. And when he spoke again, it wasn't to question me. It was to confirm what he already knew. "You own all of it? You own all of it?" For a moment, no one spoke. I didn't rush to answer. I didn't soften it. I just held his gaze and nodded once. Yes. It landed heavier than anything else that night. Daniel exhaled slowly, like the confirmation settled something he didn't want to believe but couldn't deny anymore. He looked back down at his phone, scrolling again, faster this time, verifying what he already knew was there. "It's all here," he said under his breath. "Primary control, final approval authority, every major contract." Rachel shook her head, stepping back slightly from the table. No, that's not possible," she said, her voice rising now. She doesn't do anything. She's been funding your last 2 connections," I said calmly. That stopped her. Completely. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "The vendor introductions you've been bragging about," I continued. "The ones that helped Daniel's firm secure those expansion deals?" Daniel's eyes snapped back to me. "They came through my company," I said. "You just didn't know it." Rachel's composure cracked visibly now. "You're lying," she said, but it came out thinner than she intended. "You have to be, because if that were true, then I would have known. I always know." "That's the point," I said. Silence. Real silence this time. No nervous laughter, no shifting. "You never asked," I added. "You decided who I was a long time ago and never updated it." Daniel straightened, running a hand over his face, the weight of it catching up to him now. "I've been in meetings," he said slowly, almost to himself. "Quarterly reviews, strategy calls. We've been answering to a voice on the line. Final approvals, overrides." He looked at me again. "That was you." I didn't confirm it with words this time. I didn't need to. Rachel let out a short, broken laugh, shaking her head like she could still push it away. "This is insane. You're acting like she's been hiding some secret life, like she's—" "I wasn't hiding," I said. That cut through her. "I just wasn't performing for you." Her expression shifted then, not just anger anymore. Something deeper, something colder. Realization. The version of me she had built, controlled, and repeated for years didn't exist in the way she needed it to. Around us, the energy had completely flipped. People who had ignored me earlier were now watching closely, measuring, recalibrating. Conversations at nearby tables had quieted. Even the staff seemed slower, more careful. Rachel noticed it too. That might have been the worst part for her. Daniel stepped back from the table, putting a small but very clear distance between them. I need to think, he said, not looking at her. There are implications here. Professional ones. That word hit harder than anything else. Professional. Rachel turned to him quickly. Daniel, don't do that. Don't make this bigger than it is. It's just her trying to... It's not, he said, flat. Certain. And just like that, the balance between them shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. Rachel looked back at me one last time, searching for something denial, maybe, or an opening to take control again. There wasn't one. A few days later, I was back in my office. Glass walls, city stretched out below, quiet, controlled, exactly how I preferred it. A contract sat open in front of me, another expansion, bigger than the last. I signed it without hesitation. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Missed calls. Messages. Then more calls. I watched the screen for a second, then turned it face down. Across the room, my assistant stepped in. The Hayes account is requesting a restructuring meeting, she said carefully. Of course they were. Schedule it, I replied. She nodded and left. I walked over to the window, looking out over everything that had been built quietly, deliberately, without needing anyone's approval. For years, I had let them define me because it was easier, quieter, contained. Not anymore. Now they knew. And this time, I didn't let them look away.
So, was she quiet to survive, or was she waiting for the perfect moment?